It all begins in the city of demons. On the ground lies a pile of bodies. These are the last heroes who tried to challenge the Demon King. Sitting on his throne, the king says he's still waiting to meet a true hero. It has been 100 years since anyone worthy has shown up. This king is the demon Lord Belmont. A century ago, a hero who had mastered fire powers came to fight him. But Belmont used icy flames to kill that hero. Then, 90 years ago, another hero arrived, one who controlled water. Belmont made him drown in boiling water. After that, 70 years ago, came the hero of wind. Belmont defeated him by trapping him in a tornado. Then 50 years ago, the earth element hero arrived, but Belmont buried him in sparkling crystal sand. After that, no heroes came anymore. But now, in the present, a round-shaped heroine shows up and declares she's ready for the fight. She's standing on the head of one of the Demon King's soldiers. From his throne, Belmont asks her if she hasn't learned from the past. He says he has mastered all elements, so no one can beat him. The spherical heroine replies that men often brag too much about their power. She adds that the only way to know how strong he really is to fight him. Then she jumps straight at him. Their battle lasts for 7 days and 7 nights. In the end, she kisses Belmont, and something strange happens. He starts to feel like his body is no longer under his control. He tries to resist, but his strength fades. As she pulls her mouth away, sparks fly. She says it's the jewel cultivation method. That's how the unbeatable Demon King was finally taken down by a hero. Her name is Elia. Now, 50 years later, only the ruins of the Demon King's castle are left. A teacher is taking her students on a field trip to visit the Demon King Museum, and everyone is excited to explore the place. The teacher warns them not to touch anything. She is a royal knight. Inside, the children are amazed. They see the Demon King still sitting on his throne, now turned into a statue. The teacher explains that after Elia defeated him, he was turned to stone, and ever since then, the human world has lived in peace. All thanks to Miss Elia, the heroine. The teacher is about to lead the class to another part of the castle when she notices a maid nearby. She grabs the maid's arm and shows her to everyone. She says that because the hero showed mercy, demons were allowed to keep living among humans. But you can tell who they are because they have small horns on their heads. Then she throws the maid to the ground and says that demons lost all their magic when the king was defeated, so they're not dangerous anymore. After that, the class moves on to the next room. But the demon girl, who had been thrown down, stands up and whispers that everything will change tonight. When night falls, she stands in front of the statue of the Demon King. She has prepared a magic amplifier made from dragon saliva. It took 50 years, but she finally gathered enough. Now is the time to use it. She says she has only one chance. She opens the bottle, drinks it, and suddenly feels some of her old power return. Drooling, she starts chanting a spell. A glowing pentagram appears above her, and lightning shoots from her hands and hits the floor. She focuses her power and directs it at the statue of the Demon King. After a flash of light, she falls to her knees and hopes it worked. At first, it seems like nothing happened, until a small crack appears in the statue. Then slowly the crack begins to spread. The girl starts crying, saying that the Demon King Belmont has finally returned. Where the statue once stood, there is now a small boy. He looks around and says it feels like he has been sleeping for a very long time. The girl asks if he is really King Belmont. He replies that he is and then asks who she is. She looks into his eyes and realizes it really is him. His presence and aura make it clear. Then she sends him off on a journey into the mountains, saying that she is Lacey. Belmont looks confused. He remembers her being on the ground earlier and then notices her massive body size. He asks why she's pretending to be Lacey, saying that she couldn't possibly have that much maternal power. But Lacey explains that this really is her true form. After the war, she lost her powers, and because of that, the demons even began to change how they looked. For all these years, she has been living under a fake identity, working and secretly buying dragon saliva from the black market. After 50 years of hard work, she finally brought him back. While holding her large body, she admits she also misses her skinny form. Belmont is shocked that her skinny appearance was just an illusion. Then he remembers how he was defeated. He didn't recognize the element that was used against him. Lacey says that doesn't matter now. What's important is that he's back, and soon the demons will regain their full power. But Belmont says he's not interested. Lacey asks why not. He explains that there are better things in life. Lacey yells at him, asking what could possibly be more important than restoring the honor of the demon race. As Belmont puts on his shirt, he says that he has been a demon king for 1,000 years and is tired of it. Besides, it looks like everyone is living in peace now, right? Lacey tries to calm down, reminding herself that in demon years, Belmont is still just a teenager. She then asks him about the strange power that girl used against him. They need to understand it so they can be ready next time. Belmont thinks for a moment and says he remembers the name. Lacey gets curious and urges him to say it. Belmont explains that it was something involving exchanging body fluids through the mouth, and the girl called it dual cultivation, a technique he had never heard of before. Lacey blushes a little and asks what it felt like. Belmont says it felt strange. All the blood in his body rushed downward, and it caused a kind of pain he couldn't describe. Lacey thinks to herself that he really is just a young boy. It's clearly a type of magic unknown to him. Suddenly, the instructor appears behind them, saying she had a bad feeling and now sees it was right. She instantly recognizes the boy as the demon king who once mastered all 4 elements. She's shocked that someone as weak as Lacey managed to bring him back. Lacey tells Belmont to protect himself and run. But before he can move, the instructor throws Lacey hard against the wall and slams her to the ground. Belmont runs to her and asks if she's okay, but she tells him to escape. The instructor says now is not the time to worry about others, and warns them not to underestimate her magic. But Belmont says her magic is ridiculous. He tries to use his power and raises his hand, but nothing happens. Everything is still sealed. A sword strike sends out a powerful wave of wind that knocks him down. Lacey hurries to help him, and Belmont realizes his body is now weak and human. Seeing how helpless he is, the instructor thinks this is the perfect chance to earn a promotion. Lacey apologizes, blaming herself for everything. Belmont is confused why the instructor keeps calling them weak. He asks if this is really how demons are treated now. Lacey explains that after he was defeated, the Emperor made a peace agreement, saying humans and demons would be treated equally. But in reality, humans treat demons like garbage. Belmont gives a small smile and looks at Elia's statue. He says that it seems even she didn't really succeed. Lacey then activates a glowing pentagram beneath her. She says she learned some human magic and plans to use it to buy Belmont some time to escape. The instructor says Lacey doesn't stand a chance. Belmont agrees. He knows Lacey doesn't have the power to win this fight. He just woke up and doesn't want to be captured again. He tries to activate his magic again, but the 4 elements he once controlled are still sealed. However, in the middle of this, he starts to feel a strange new type of magic, something unfamiliar, but growing inside his heart. Belmont calls out to Lacey. She asks what's going on, but he suddenly grabs her small arm and pulls her in for a saliva exchange. Lacey blushes shyly as usual and seems to enjoy it a little, but suddenly black lightning bursts out of Belmont's back. She warns him it's too much, calling him Evan's boy, but Belmont says it's working. The only power that remained with him during the last 50 years was the dual cultivation method. Just then, the instructor sends another blast of wind magic at him, but Belmont stretches out his arm to block it and shouts, "Burn and die." A massive explosion hits her straight in the face, leaving her stunned and injured. She's shocked. What kind of magic was that? Belmont says it's the same power used by the heroine who sealed him. He warns her that she's lucky he hasn't fully mastered it yet, or she would have been reduced to ash. The instructor refuses to believe it, asking how a lowly demon like him could have learned the heroine's magic. Belmont tells her to show more respect to the demon race, and with that final attack, she's knocked out on the ground. He calls Lacey over, who's clearly flustered by everything. Belmont says he wants to break the demonic seal placed over the entire human race. Lacey is thrilled and says it's a brilliant idea. Belmont then looks at her seriously and says, "Take me to the place with the most women in this country. We're going to cultivate until we're exhausted." Lacey is shocked and confused, but Belmont explains his plan. he'll use the dual cultivation method to restore the power of the entire demon race. The two of them arrive at the city of Hosea, named after Alia Hosea, the heroine who defeated him. It used to be the demon capital, but now it's the richest and most powerful human city. With enough money, anything can be bought. The city is filled with foxgirls, succubi, and all kinds of beings, bustling with life. Inside a lavish building, Bellman and Lacey are surrounded by beautiful girls. They warmly welcome him. A fox girl offers him a tea of essences to help him relax. A snake girl warns him to be careful, she's very entangling. A slime girl suggests some sticky fun. Bellman is a bit embarrassed but reminds himself that this is all for the good of demon kind. The fox then asks who he will choose. Bellman calmly replies that he's not here to choose, he wants all of them. The girls cheer, saying he has great taste, and begin leading him away. Lacey is slightly heartbroken, thinking all men are the same, but Bellman is curious. He wants to test if his powers react differently with other races. Suddenly, one of the girls takes off Bellman's hood and says there's no need to be shy here. But the moment they see his small demon horns, the mood changes. The girls' expressions twist, and they throw both of them out of the building. They yell that they thought he was some rich adventurer, not filthy demon trash, and tell them never to come back. As the doors slam shut, Lacey grumbles that she told him not to take off the hood. On a nearby wall, a succubus leans and laughs, mocking them. She says it's funny to see two lost demons walking around the city these days. In Hosea, demons can barely survive. If they want to blame someone, blame the demon king who lost the war. Lacey defends him, saying that's not true, it's not his fault. The succubus is surprised that someone still speaks up for him after 50 years. Bellman stands up and approaches her, asking if she wants to fight. But when he stares into her eyes, she starts trembling. He asks how a demon can live well in this city. The succubus, unable to resist answering, says the only way is to enroll in Elmont Hero Academy. The entrance exam is in 2 days. Bellman tells Lacey to get up, they're going. But the succubus laughs, saying it's impossible for them to pass. Demons without magic are hopeless. Bellman tells her not to worry. The demon king always fixes his own mistakes. 2 days later, they arrive at the academy. A man at the gate coldly tells them they're not qualified and should go home. They're shocked, lying on the ground, when they learn the truth. For a demon to even take the entrance exam, they need a recommendation letter from a noble. Lacey tries to cheer Bellman up, who's sitting in despair, calling himself a useless demon king, a loser with just one horn. She knows he only gets like this when it takes him more than 10 seconds to defeat a hero. She needs to snap him out of it. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning crashes down near them and sends Bellman flying. Lacey rushes to check if he's okay. Nearby, a man with a monocle tells a girl named Alice to give up. She refuses, saying she won't forgive him next time, she's moving forward. Her name is Alice Rosie, with the same last name as the legendary heroine. Lloyd tells Alice that she's not supposed to take the regular test. They've already prepared a special path for her. Meanwhile, Bellman gets up, battered but focused. Alice, clearly annoyed, doesn't want to hear anything more about that person, and suddenly fires a phoenix spell at Bellman. He calmly raises magical barriers and blocks it all, telling her that while she's talented, it's still too early for her. She keeps attacking, but Bellman deflects everything without breaking a sweat. Then one of her spells ricochets and hits him in the face. Lacey notices something strange. Bellman appears right in front of Lloyd. An explosion follows, shaking the area, and Lloyd ends up flat on the ground, completely defeated. Alice is stunned. She wants to know who Bellman is. Bellman tells Lloyd to be more careful when picking fights, but since Lloyd isn't getting up, Bellman moves to punch him to make him apologize. Alice yells for him to stop. Bellman turns to her and notices how much she resembles the heroine. He keeps staring, confused. Alice doesn't like being stared at, so she steps up and places her hand on his shoulder. The moment she touches him, she feels a powerful surge. The dual cultivation magic activates inside her. She's overwhelmed by how incredible it feels. Bellman also senses the activation. Even though he didn't mean for it to happen, The power takes over, and the two of them nearly transcend together. The power becomes unstable, nearly bursting out, but Alice quickly pushes them apart, barely saving Bellman's dignity. She asks if he's okay. He admits he's feeling drained, and something weird is happening. His power's activated without his control. Lacey figures it out. She tells him that Alice must be the heroine's descendant. Alice, now more curious, asks who they really are. Bellman gets close, inspecting her. He admits she looks very similar, but the size doesn't match. It can't be the same person. Maybe he's overthinking it. Then he gets slapped in the face. Alice apologizes, joking that since he's a blind demon, he must use other senses to recognize people. It's not a great excuse, but they let it go. After talking a bit, Alice learns they need a recommendation letter. Before Bellman can say more, Lacey tries to drag him away. But Alice doesn't want to leave just yet. She wants to know what kind of magic he used. As far as she knows, demon magic was sealed long ago. She's also impressed at how easily he found Lloyd's weak spot. Bellman starts to explain. He says it's something only he can use, because he's the legendary. Lacey panics and tries to stop him from revealing the truth. But he finishes the sentence anyway. He's the legendary descendant of the incubus. Lacey sighs, thinking, seriously? She really thought he was going to admit he was the demon king. Alice raises an eyebrow. She's never heard of a male succubus before. Bellman tries to explain further. He says that if someone touches certain spots, they'll feel something, and if they do certain things, they'll grow stronger. Before he can embarrass himself further, Alice cuts him off. She gets the idea. She says they've done her a favor by getting rid of Lloyd, and in her family, they always repay favors. The scene shifts to the Hero Academy. Most of the candidates have already entered. Bellman and Alice rush toward the gates. A chubby guard blocks them, telling them to give up if they don't have a recommendation letter. But Bellman confidently shows a letter from the Rosie family. Alice is also there to register. The guard's attitude instantly changes, now all smiles, and lets them through. Inside, the crowd is huge. Everyone notices Alice's presence and then sees the two demons following her. The stares are intense. Alice quietly thinks that even if they manage to get in, surviving this place will be a different challenge. At that moment, a wild-looking beast girl steps forward, saying she didn't expect to see Alice joining the academy. Her name is Newt. Alice scoffs, saying Newt is the person she likes the least. But Newt, unbothered, lifts Alice's chin playfully and tells her not to say that. They've been childhood friends for a long time. Noticing the two demons with Alice, Newt asks if they're her servants. Alice warns her to be careful around Bellman. He's a descendant of the incubus. Newt completely ignores the warning and casually sends Bellman flying off in a magical bubble, calling him cute. Bellman finds it odd that his powers didn't activate from the contact. Newt smirks and asks if he wants to be her pet. Bellman stays silent. Alice quickly grabs him back and scolds Newt. If she's feeling hot and bothered, she should go home instead of dirtying the training grounds. The two girls argue. Suddenly, Bellman is pulled again, this time by a white-haired girl who appears behind him and starts sniffing him. Both girls instantly recognize her. It's Rose-Tana, the elf. She says Bellman smells amazing and gently puts him to sleep with a spell. Is this the power of the incubus at work? Bellman glances around nervously. Rose-Tana tells him he's perfect training material. Bellman is confused. What does she mean, training material? Rose-Tana turns to Alice and asks why she's here. Didn't her brother already take a seat at the academy? Wasn't that enough for the Rosie family? Newt joins in, saying maybe it's time to remind Alice about the old hero contract. Alice snaps at them to shut up, saying her reasons have nothing to do with them. Bellman, still dazed, asks who these girls are. Alice explains that they're descendants of the original heroes who defeated the Demon King. Bellman is surprised. He remembers only one hero, Alice. But Alice clarifies, there were other heroes during the invasion of the Demon Castle, though she was the one who ultimately defeated him. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupts them. Lightning strikes the center of the hall. A blond boy appears. He introduces himself as Edward, this year's examiner. Everyone recognizes him. He's a big deal, a future director. Lacey, watching from a distance, gets nervous. She says things are about to get dangerous. But Bellman reassures her. He doesn't fully understand what triggers the dual cultivation power, but every time it's been activated he's felt stronger, like he could control any kind of magic. He wants to try it now. Lacey watches him, amazed. She can tell, this is the power he once had. He's really back. But when Bellman tries to conjure it, the energy fizzles out in his hand. He realizes he can only control a tiny bit of power. Worse, it vanishes the moment it leaves his body. Lacey doesn't understand why he's proud of that. She reminds him they still have to pass the entrance exam, and that level of power won't be enough. She calls out to him, grabs his wrist, and pulls him into another one of her chaotic missions. Bellman asks what's going on, and she pulls out a bottle of dragon's saliva from her stash. She says it'll help him pass the exam, but the effect is short, so he must take it right before the test. But Bellman refuses. She's shocked. But he tells her it's wrong to cheat on the exam. Lacey is stunned. What kind of demon king says something like that? She reminds him that the rebirth of the demon race depends on him. But Bellman says he believes the demons are still powerful, even with their magic sealed. There's no need to cheat. He'll pass on his own. Lacey relaxes a bit and starts to believe in him again. But then, a mysterious hand appears out of nowhere, hovering over the dragon's saliva bottle like it's one of Goku's Dragon Balls. The hand grabs it and disappears into a wall. It was Edward, the examiner. He now holds the bottle and recognizes it instantly as a magic amplifier, a cheating item. He declares Lacey disqualified. A magic circle forms around her, and she vanishes. Bellman is shocked. But Edward tells him not to worry, she's only been removed from the exam area. Still, he's disappointed. He had hoped the demon candidates would behave differently this year. He sighs and says it's typical. Demons always find a way to disappoint others. The nearby students watch and whisper, clearly prejudiced against demons. Edward looks at Bellman, who stays silent. Edward taunts him. Nothing to say? Bellman finally speaks. No, but later, you'll owe me an apology. Edward frowns. I'm not wrong. Someone who planned to cheat has no place in the test field. The demon mentions the issue started when he called her weak, but Emery brushes it off, assuming he won't act since he was brought in by Lady Alice. Emery then activates his power, saying he's wasted enough time on weaklings and declares it's time to begin the selection exam. A giant magic circle forms, teleporting everyone to a tree platform. There, Emery explains the rules. A bridge leads to the castle, and only the first 100 to cross it within 30 minutes will pass. It seems easy, so the trial starts immediately. Everyone rushes forward, but Bellman quickly notices something's off. His foot is sinking. The bridge is made of slime, and only those who can control magic beneath their steps can stay afloat. Alice struggles while Newt moves across effortlessly. Edward smirks as he watches Bellman sink. Nearly swallowed by the slime, Bellman realizes he must rely on the little power left from cultivation. He transforms the slime around him into water, surprising Edward, who thinks even advanced mages would struggle with that level of control. Then, to his shock, Bellman starts swimming through the slime. Edward can't believe it, even academy professors would find that hard. Bellman smiles, hinting there's more coming. As more people advance, tentacles emerge from the slime. Bellman is startled, and Edward comments that while small slimes are weak, large ones are unstoppable. Newt gleefully attacks them, slicing away, while Rose Stana calmly shields herself with a barrier. One girl nearly panics before Alice burns the slime and clears the way. The girl thanks her, but Alice says she only did it because the creature was in her way, thinking if she helped, she'd look like a pervert. Meanwhile, Edward continues spawning monsters, impressed by the hero's descendants but convinced Bellman won't last. Then he notices a group of tentacles gathered, but instead of fighting, Bellman is calmly petting and speaking to the slimes. Edward is stunned. The language of slimes was lost long ago. With Bellman's low power, it shouldn't be possible until he spots a small magic circle in Bellman's mouth. He's using spiritual communication magic. Still, Edward smirks and pulls out a vial. He reminds himself he's the examiner and can shape the test. Suddenly, the slime turns purple and attacks. It's now an oil-type slime. Bellman's foot gets trapped, and Edward declares this is the end for him. But before it can finish him off, Alice blocks the explosion and saves him. He's surprised she helped, but she tells him not to misread the situation. She just happened to be going the same way. Edward, frustrated that Alice is defending a weak demon, holds back from attacking her to avoid trouble. He focuses on recovering the potion, but the mutated slime begins absorbing the others, breaking Edward's spatial magic. He won't be able to retrieve what he gave out. Alice casts a fire spell at the oil slime, but it's ineffective. Bellman warns her that the creature is immune to most elemental magic because it's been exposed to python blood. The potion only restores 1% of a person's power, which surprises Alice. How could Bellman be so strong? Bellman explains that slimes are made up of many entities fused together, so each one gains 1% per slime when taking the potion. Alice throws another explosion that again does nothing, and Bellman tells her to stop wasting effort. She snaps back, telling him to do something instead of just complaining. Bellman says since she's here, there's a way to win using her magic. She urges him to act fast. He grabs her waist and pulls her close, making her startled and shy. "What are you doing?" she asks. Bellman jokes, "I'm the professional saliva squapper," while feeling the power of jewel cultivation magic flowing through her, though she doesn't understand. She doesn't pull away either, and her hand rests on him. Bellman feels the magic, and even the slime seems to shy away. Suddenly, Bellman notices his own power activating too. Alice gets angry and punches him hard, blowing him away and making a crater on the bridge. She scolds him for thinking about nonsense during battle, saying he's beyond saving. Buried under the rubble, Bellman thinks she's scarier than the slime. Alice says she'll hold off the slime alone and tells him to get help, but Bellman insists she's not strong enough and will die before he returns. She kicks him again, telling him to stop bothering her. Bellman wonders why she's still there risking her life, and she says it's her duty as a heroine to protect people. Bellman recalls a knight saying the same. Suddenly, the oil slime attacks Alice from behind. She creates a barrier that holds for a while, but Bellman knows it won't last. As an attack nears her face, he jumps in and pulls her away just in time. They're thrown by the explosion. Alice asks why Bellman is still here, telling him it's not his time to be a hero. Bellman replies that if protecting people is a hero's duty, that includes demons too, and if so, he'll pass this exam and become a hero. She says she understands but asks why he's still crushing her. The slime prepares another attack she can't block. Bellman says blocking isn't necessary, grabs her hand, and tells her to focus her energy there. She feels her power concentrate in her palm. Bellman notes she has plenty of magic but poor control and asks what he's doing. He explains he'll use her magic more efficiently. Even if the dual cultivation method doesn't activate, he's a prodigy who mastered 4 elements. He can make something work as long as he has magic. The oil slime attacks again, but Bellman fires flames that split the creature in 2, making it evaporate. He realizes part of his power has returned. Across the bridge, those who qualified are waiting. Edward is terrified Alice might be dead but is shocked when Bellman carries her back, even telling Edward he seems to have passed. Everyone is stunned that Alice needed a demon's help to succeed, and Bellman grows angry at their prejudice. Alice thinks about killing Bellman but he tells her to focus on staying alive first. Edward approaches, saying the mist has cleared but accuses Bellman of cheating, disqualifying him. Bellman is shocked, but other students say they expected only a cheating demon to pass. Alice defends Bellman, admitting she only passed because of him and vouching that he didn't cheat. Edward argues it's naive. Demons had their powers sealed long ago, so if Bellman used magic, that's cheating. He prepares a teleport circle to judge Bellman but gets punched in the face and falls. Bellman asks if he's tired of nonsense and warns he won't kill him now because he wants to pass the test. Alice realizes Bellman not only has amazing magic control but can also absorb magic from others. Edward curses, calling him a demon, but someone approaches from behind, a voice saying the academy has an extraordinary student. It's the headmistress, and everyone recognizes her instantly. She greets Alice warmly, who says she's under her care. Edward tries to take charge, but the headmistress hushes him and walks over to Bellman, asking calmly if he cheated. Bellman says no. She then invites him for a walk, and they're teleported to a courtroom-like room filled with nobles. The headmistress introduces herself as Karen Lin and says she prepared a special test for both of them. Bellman says he's not interested since he already passed Edward's test. Karen explains it's necessary because both broke academy rules. First, demons aren't accepted since the hero school was created to fight them. Second, only one noble per family can enroll. Bellman argues that if these rules are secret, they don't really count. Alice warns him to be careful and stop disrespecting the headmistress, but Bellman insists he's just telling the truth. The plump headmistress agrees he's not wrong but says the test won't be hard. She asks why they want to join the academy. Alice says she wants to protect people like the ancient heroine, while Bellman wants demons to have equal rights. The nobles react negatively to those answers, but the headmistress laughs, saying one wants to fight demons, the other wants to restore them. She's excited and summons 2 rings for their test. These rings will determine if they're worthy heroes. Bellman asks what happens if they fail. She warns the rings will drain their energy until they die. Alice is shocked, asking how she never knew about this. She says her family hid everything, even the butler. The headmistress says the test is simple: survive and pass. Alice hesitates, but Bellman says a true hero wouldn't be afraid. Alice tells him to shut up, calling him an incubus and questioning how he knows what she wants. The headmistress calls them to stop chatting and puts the rings on them. Alice's ring seems inactive at first, but Bellman's emits purple energy. Soon, Alice's ring activates too, and energy flows through both of their chests. A knight with a sword appears before them, declaring itself the judgment ring in their hearts, tasked with granting soul greed and lust for judgment. Bellman smirks, calling it just a demonic ring. The soul calls him arrogant but then sees Bellman's gigantic soul behind him and asks if he recognizes the power. The soul immediately vanishes, and the headmistress congratulates him. Meanwhile, Alice suffers from illusions criticizing her, saying she doesn't compare to the ancient heroine and weakened her mother by being born. The headmistress says Alice is nearly powerless and will soon be executed. Bellman conjures an explosion to attack the illusion, but the headmistress says his half-formed magic won't work and insists he respect the hero's rules. Alice says he doesn't need to worry about her. Bellman argues that if you reject the hero's rules, you're discarded. He then hugs Alice, but his hand is pierced, and they both flinch. Bellman insists it doesn't make sense for heroes' rules to impose their will on others, and even if it conflicts with their will, he'll protect her. Alice sheds a tear, calling him an idiot. At that moment, the circle on Bellman's chest activates, the famous dual cultivation. Energy bursts forth, dissolving the creature. The headmistress applauds and congratulates them on passing. Embarrassed but relieved, they prepare to leave, but when she notices Bellman's hand still on Alice's shoulder, she tells him to let go, calling him a pervert.